Beware of believing any of these myths because they will genuinely make your life harder and you will make less progress, if not none, and you'll waste time and money. In this video, I'm going to break down 10 myths and why they're wrong and what's actually backed up by studies. Numero uno, you have to train a certain amount of times a week. 2 times, 1 time, 6 times, 7 times, 10 times. Especially those high intensity, low frequency training guys like Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates. Mike Mentzer said you only need 1 workout every 10 days. At that point, you're not bodybuilding. You're just showing up to the gym like it's jury duty. And then you have other guys telling you need to work out 7 times a week. So what's the deal here? What's the discrepancy between needing to do it once versus 7 times a week? Well, the truth is that they both kind of work for different reasons. They're hitting kind of similar / different pathways, but it depends on the individual. What works for you? What are your genetics? What do you respond to? Well, let me break that down for you. The key is to balance stimulus and recovery. The less often you work out, the harder the stimulus needs to be. Whereas if you're doing it multiple times a week, you need to decrease the intensity of the stimulus so that you can manage recovery. The truth is they both work, and they work in different ways. When you're working out, you need to push your body past its adaptational limits for it to make an adaptation. That's what getting bigger and stronger is. With high intensity, low frequency, if you're doing 1 to 2 sessions, they need to be pretty intense to count. Otherwise, you won't be making as much progress as the guy going in several times a week. Your adaptation here is that you are basically fully recovered when you go to the gym, allowing you to push harder, and the intensity is what's driving growth here. You can rip your muscle up so hard and make so much hypertrophy, but then you're going to need to recover a lot. And this is good for people that don't have that much time. They don't want to train 4 days a week. Yet once you get into high frequency, things changes, and this is how they change. With high frequency training, you need to decrease the intensity, meaning you're not going to be Dorian Yates when you're doing it 5 times a week. And you might be thinking, well, oh my goodness, if I'm not training as intensely, I'm not getting those maximum gains. Well, no, because high frequency has something that low frequency doesn't get you. And I need to go find my green pen. Number 1 is you might actually get a girlfriend because if you're going to the gym more often, you're socializing more. And with higher frequency, you have more exposure to women. Now, this is actually true to some degree, but you get an increase in muscle protein synthesis because you are stimulating protein synthesis daily. Up to 24 to 36 hours after training, protein synthesis is stimulated. And if you're training almost every day, you have an acute chronic elevation of muscle building. Also, training suppresses myostatin for around the same time. Myostatin is the muscle building blocker. So with more frequency, you're exposed to less myostatin on a weekly basis, meaning just for this alone, you'll build more muscle because this hormone makes you scrawny and we don't want that for you. And a couple more things high frequency does is you recruit a higher total volume of muscle fibers because as you're working out through a set, you systematically tire your muscles and it switches through other muscles that are more fresh. And this could help for people that are having a lagging body part. If you have a lagging chest because your shoulder is taking over the movement or the triceps, then high frequency can help you tire those muscles so that your chest will finally come in and you'll start seeing growth. Now, another thing I will put in about this is some guys will come up to you and say, I've been training high frequency and all of a sudden when I switched to high intensity once a week, I started growing like crazy. Well, that's probably not because high intensity itself works, which it does, but that's more probably because they've been training high frequency all their life. And once they finally switch over, their body has a brand new stimulus, just novelty. Your body loves it. And what happens? You start growing. And now they become Mike Mentzer's stepbrother. Well, you wish. And start preaching to everyone. All you gotta do is make your body biologically poop itself so it just makes crazy adaptations. Now, some things work for other people. Some people are more type 2 fiber dominant, or genetically have more power and strength, or genetically have more endurance. For athletes that have more endurance, number 1, they're just gonna respond better to higher endurance work. Or if they've been doing endurance their whole life, they might benefit from doing some power / strength work. And vice versa, if you have power athletes doing endurance work, yeah, they're gonna benefit from switching to high intensity because that's what they were made for. But anyways, here's the main takeaway. A big decider on what program you run depends on your genetics and your goals and what training you respond to the best. Now, number 2, high reps build tone and low reps build muscle. Now, women typically believe this, thinking if they do lower reps, they'll get muscular, which you won't. It's actually incredibly difficult for women to build muscle because of lower testosterone levels. And the thought process that high reps build tone is completely false. What builds tone is just less fat. But this is actually backwards. Statistically and more frequently and often than not, low reps actually build more strength. Who would have thought when you ask your body to move more weight, it gets stronger? And when you're doing high reps, you're actually creating more hypertrophy, which you know what that is. More reps, more exposure to, volume and stretching and ripping the muscle, and the body always repairs that bigger. Not to mention, if you're working out very frequently with high reps, you're actually going to be increasing the nuclei in your muscle, which over time will just make your muscles bigger. Now, a lot of women want a bigger butt and legs and whatnot. That's good for high frequency because you're going to get a lot of hypertrophy and increase the nuclei in your muscle. But what builds tone is simply just a caloric deficit and some cardio. Mithero numero 3. I need to eat every 2 hours to build muscle. You might as well start a part-time job as a competitive eater. In all seriousness, there is some truth to this, but there's a huge trade-off. If you can't handle it or you're not training frequently, you'll just get fat, like really fat. You know, if eating every 2 hours was the secret, every toddler would be jacked. Some of them are, but eating every 2 hours won't just make you super jacked. It makes you the guy everyone avoids going with road trips on because you're always asking to stop for food. Really, bro? Here, guys, tell me if you think this is right. Supplements are the key to gains. That's what I think. Because this guy is who? A marketer. He wants your money, dog. Let's talk about the ones that are wasting your money and making you more broke than you already are. And let's talk about some that are actually good and not really expensive. And I'm gonna help you move out of your mom's basement with this one. Stop taking branched chain amino acids. They're pretty expensive. And your body makes all of these from just protein. Go figure. Another one is water. Because if you're alive, you are wasting your money. That wasn't supposed to be in the script. When you start taking something called glutamine, stop wasting your money. Another one is just randomly taking a daily vitamin. Are you a doctor? Do you know what you're deficient in? Yeah, they're relatively inexpensive, but they're usually always low quality. They actually make you less healthy because they're replacing your normal vitamins with synthetic vitamins, and things like cyanocobalamin and oxalated calcium or zinc literally do nothing. They're derived from rock. Anyways, supplement with things you know you're deficient in and get a good source of it. Forget about fat burners, testosterone boosters. They don't work unless you're on TRT, which you probably maybe don't need it. If you're low on testosterone, go to a doctor, get a test, figure out why you're low before you just say, okay, I'm gonna give you $700 a month just to give me something my body's already making. Another one I would say is ashwagandha, and yeah, I spelled that right. Yeah, it can help a little bit for people that especially have elevated cortisol from a very stressful life. But yeah, it can make your sleep better and make you less catabolic, but chances are your cortisol isn't super high. And if you take it long term, it'll actually make you feel emotionally numb. You'll be emo. The only thing these are really actually good at is draining your bank account to negative numbers so you get an overdraft. And then you have to move back into your mom's basement, but you're already in it. So now you're just gonna get kicked to the streets. And they're gonna ask you, what drug are you taking? And you're gonna say, I'm taking my daily vitamin and ashwagandha. These are good. Caffeine gives you energy. Decrease the perceived load of exertion, allowing you to push yourself harder. Creatine, relatively inexpensive and will actually help you build muscle and make your memory better, especially for people that are sleep deprived. This will help a lot. Whey protein powder. I like to get this unflavored because all the flavors are nasty and you have to make your protein shake a specific way so it doesn't taste nasty with Oreo flavoring. Protein is not gonna make you huge like Ronnie Coleman. It's just gonna be more convenient for you to hit your protein macros. All right, all my hard work just Get rid of it all. Numero piat. That's Russian. For all 3 of my Russian viewers. Lifting will make me bulky. Actually, women believe this. If you can get bulky from lifting, you have the best genetics in the world. I'm sorry, it's just true. So actually, congratulations, and you should have a lot of kids because they will thank you for the rest of their lives. Even for males, novice lifters can only gain a quarter or half a pound per week with structured frequent training, and that's if they're lucky with at least moderately good genetics. For a woman, it's even less because they have less testosterone. Getting bulky requires years of progressive overload, training, eating in preferably a surplus, and a mixture of good genetics. Numero 6. You gotta shock your muscles with random workouts it's never seen before. Well, this is kind of true, but here's the thing. If you stay consistently to at least the big 3 lifts, bench, deadlift, squat, how many reps you can get in for a certain weight, when you're tracking that, you can progressively overload it and get stronger and make more adaptations. You're tracking it, but if you're doing a bunch of random workouts, it's harder to track. Now, it's good to change things up a bit because it actually makes it more fun and you're not just doing the same thing over and over again, which is bad anyways, but you actually don't need to change too much to keep the stimulus for muscle growth novel. Really, you just need to change the frequency, the rest time, the weight, the rep speed, the amount of reps. You can even do blood flow restriction training if you know what that is, or even work out more times a week as a stimulus on its own. Or you can go on the eccentric, you can go for a deeper stretch. You can do more explosive. You can do dumbbells instead. You can do incline. So don't be jumping around doing jumping jacks on the pull-up bar. Even your bones will be shocked when they break in half when you fall off the bar. Number 7, more protein equals more muscle. Wrong. Save your chicken, please. Or your soy protein isolates. It has well been studied already that you only need up to 7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, depending on how much muscle mass that you have. If more of your mass or weight is coming from fat, you're probably going to be on the lower end of that. Or if you're more active or need more recovery, you go a little higher. If you're on steroids, you go even higher. But studies show once you get to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, the beneficial curve kind of looks like that. Where yes, you're gonna build more muscle once you're getting to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. For some people, even less. But once you start taking more, the benefits don't really increase. And this will help especially because protein is expensive and you'll save even more money to move out of your grandma's basement. Number 8, muscle turns to fat when you stop training. No, they're completely different bodily tissues. It's not even made of the same thing. But people tend to assume this because once you stop working out, your muscles atrophy and shrink over time. And so you lose muscle and gain fat, and Einstein's little brother comes up and says, well, actually, muscle turns to fat when you stop training. You can spot reduce fat wherever you want it. Keep your booty big and your midsection tight. You can't do that. That's not how your body works. You're not going to do a million crunches and have a completely shaved midsection because when you lose fat, your body loses it systematically. Your genetics tells your body where to take the fat. When you're losing fat, your body is removing fat globally or where it thinks it should genetically. So if you want to lose fat in a certain spot, you just got to lose weight. Numero 10, lifting heavy weights equals toaster water. You're gonna seriously injure yourself. Actually, lifting weights is probably gonna save you. Heavy weights. And I'm talking 1 rep maxes or up to 6 reps. Yes, the catastrophes and muscle injury of lifting heavy can be greater, but typically you can see it coming. But you see the guys hurting themselves and tearing their pecs are probably on steroids and overshooting themselves. Bumping up the weight too fast, where your body actually makes major adaptations in tendon strength and bone strength. Now, if you lift heavy smart, and I'm talking, per session, you just increase the weight a little more, and you're building up that tendon strength and bone strength and all the adaptations you need. It's been studied that your bone density can increase by 20-30%, making your bones 2 to 7 times stronger. I have a great example. I was doing a bit of ice skating a bit ago. I landed really bad on my left foot, and it was just gnarly. I mean, I landed on it, boom, straight leg and everything. My ankle rolled outwards super hard, strained my ankle, and with a straight leg, I landed and caved my straight knee in, and it pushed on it so hard, yet nothing broke. I was actually squatting a lot beforehand. I strained my MCL, my adductors, my medial hamstring, some muscles on the left side of my calf, and even my ankle. But my hamstring took a pretty bad strain on that, and I landed so hard, yet nothing broke, nothing ripped, and I was honestly so confused and thankful. That would have been pretty bad. And I landed on that sucker. And I actually was doing strength training, where for 4 months I was squatting. My 1 rep squat max went from 250 pounds to 350 pounds. And so all that squatting greatly strengthened the hamstrings, quads, glutes, etc., and saved you from a debilitating injury. Now, most injuries come from ego lifting, poor form, or too much volume too soon. That's a really big one. And if you're not recovering properly. Studies actually show that strength training actually reduces injury risk in the long term. Anyways, do it intelligently. But that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. If any of these helped you out, consider liking the video or subscribing to see more of my content. Leave any questions you have in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Bye.